gardens of Ryoanji Temple in Kyoto, 15 stones rest upon a bed of perfectly raked white sand. No decoration, no superfluous ornament, just this absolute simplicity that instantly soothes the visitor's mind. A monk recounts that he spends his mornings contemplating this garden before his deepest meditations. "It's strange," he confides. "The calmer my mind becomes, the more creative it grows. My best insights are always born from my most peaceful moments." This observation reveals a truth that our age of hyperactivity has nearly forgotten. Nothing is more fertile than a peaceful mind. In a civilization that has made permanent agitation of virtue and constant occupation a sign of success, we have lost contact with this secret source of all authentic creativity, truly regenerating rest. But beware, the rest the sages speak of is not passive inaction or escape into entertainment. It is not about collapsing exhausted before a screen or sinking into sterile torpor. True rest is an invisible movement inward, a subtle form of activity that regenerates our deepest energies and opens our consciousness to dimensions usually inaccessible amid the bustle. This fundamental distinction between authentic rest and mere cessation of activity finds its roots in the most ancient Taoist wisdom. The Tao Te Ching teaches us, attain the utmost emptiness, maintain perfect tranquility. All things under heaven are born together, and I contemplate their return. This supreme emptiness is not nothingness, but rather the creative fullness from which all possibilities emerge. This perfect tranquility is not immobility, but total receptivity to the subtle movement of life. Lao Tzu thus reveals the secret of fruitful rest. It consists less in stopping our activities than in rediscovering that quality of being which can welcome without effort everything that presents itself. In this peaceful welcoming, our mind ceases to scatter its energies in 1,000 directions, gathering them instead into that tranquil unity from which intuition, creativity, and wisdom naturally spring forth. This understanding radically transforms our relationship with rest. Instead of seeing it as a necessary but unproductive parenthesis between our serious activities, we begin to recognize it as the secret foundation of all genuine effectiveness. Authentic rest does not cut us off from life, but connects us to it more deeply, allowing us to perceive its subtle rhythms and creative movements. Our modern era has developed a veritable phobia of true rest. We fill our slightest free moments with activities, stimulation, and entertainment that maintain our minds in a state of chronic excitement. Even our vacations often become tourist marathons, where we accumulate experiences and sensations without ever stopping long enough to digest what we are living. This permanent flight from authentic rest reveals a profound anxiety about emptiness and silence. Conditioned by a society that measures our worth by our visible productivity, we have developed a form of existential guilt that prevents us from fully savoring these moments of creative pause. We have forgotten that it is precisely in these apparently unproductive spaces that our most precious capacities regenerate. Yet all the great creators in history have intuitively understood the crucial importance of fruitful rest. Mozart composed his most beautiful melodies during his silent strolls through the gardens of Vienna. Einstein found his most revolutionary scientific insights during his long solitary sails on Lake Constance. Virginia Woolf drew her inspiration from those contemplative moments she called her moments of being, those instants of total receptivity, where the ordinary suddenly revealed its extraordinary dimension. The Taoist tradition developed a remarkably sophisticated science of these creative states of rest. The Zhuangzi magnificently describes this particular quality of active tranquility. The accomplished person uses their mind like a mirror. They grasp nothing, refuse nothing, welcome without retaining, respond without effort. This image of the mental mirror reveals the paradoxical nature of authentic rest. It is simultaneously total receptivity and spontaneous activity, empty of tension and full of potentialities. This quality of mental mirror is progressively acquired through the practice of what Taoist masters call empty tranquility. This practice does not consist of eliminating all thought, but of creating an interior space peaceful enough that our thoughts can circulate freely without encumbering or agitating us. In this space of inner freedom, naturally arises that spontaneous creativity which Taoists consider the direct expression of our original nature. Fruitful rest possesses this particular quality. It does not flee life, but gently tames it. Instead of seeking escape in artificial paradises or entertainment that cuts us off from our daily reality, it teaches us to transform our relationship with this very reality. In this subtle transformation, constraints become opportunities for creativity, difficulties reveal their hidden teachings, and the ordinary is transfigured into the extraordinary. This alchemical transformation of the everyday constitutes one of the most precious fruits of authentic rest. When our mind recovers its natural tranquility, we begin to perceive the unsuspected richness of each present moment. A simple ray of sunlight filtering through leaves becomes a revelation about the nature of light and shadow. A bird's song suddenly reveals the secret harmony uniting all living beings. The taste of a sip of tea opens our consciousness to the infinite complexity of flavors and sensations. This capacity to transform the ordinary into a source of wonder does not rely on any sophisticated technique, but simply on that quality of attention which a peaceful mind naturally develops. When we stop chasing extraordinary experiences outside ourselves, we discover that the extraordinary was already there, patiently waiting for us to develop the eyes to see it. True rest nestles indeed in the purest simplicity. It finds its fulfillment not in exceptional conditions, but in the transfiguration of our most everyday gestures. A bowl drunk with attention becomes a spontaneous ceremony that reconnects us to the present moment. A nap taken without guilt becomes a journey to the heart of our deep being. A ray of sunlight welcomed in awareness becomes a direct communion with the creative energy of the universe. This revelatory simplicity teaches us that authentic rest requires no particular external arrangement. It needs neither exotic setting nor perfect conditions. It can flourish in our living room as in a Tibetan temple, in our garden as on a paradise beach. Its only requirement is that quality of presence which transforms any space into a temporary sanctuary. The Zen tradition has particularly developed this art of sacralizing the everyday. In the tea ceremony, each gesture, cleaning the utensils, heating the water, pouring the infusion, becomes a meditation in action that reveals the hidden beauty of the simplest activities. This practice teaches us that fruitful rest does not oppose activity, but transfigures it, giving it that quality of total presence which transforms doing into being. The Zen master Dogen expressed this truth with striking poetry. When you make tea, be nothing but tea. When you walk, be nothing but walking. When you sit, be nothing but sitting. In this total simplicity is revealed the Buddha nature that slumbers in every instant. This Buddha nature that Dogen speaks of corresponds exactly to the spontaneous creativity that a truly peaceful mind releases. This quality of total presence also transforms our understanding of work and effort. Instead of opposing work and rest as two incompatible polarities, we discover that there exists a way of working that is itself rest. That form of activity which naturally arises from our peaceful center without ever distancing us from it. Traditional artisans knew intimately this form of effortless effort that Taoists call Wu Wei. A potter concentrated on their wheel, a calligrapher tracing their characters, a gardener pruning their trees, all can attain states of rest in action where activity becomes meditation and creativity flourishes without constraint. In these privileged moments, the distinction between work and rest fades to give way to that unity of experience which all contemplatives seek. This recovered unity reveals one of the deepest dimensions of fruitful rest. It makes us rediscover our natural rhythm, often masked by the artificial demands of modern life. When we respect these organic alternations between activity and receptivity, expansion and contraction, expression and silence, our energy regenerates naturally and our creativity flourishes without forcing. The Taoist monks of the sacred mountains had developed this science of natural rhythms to an extraordinary refinement. Their day was organized around subtle alternations between seated meditations, energetic exercises, manual work, and silent contemplation. This delicate orchestration allowed them to maintain a state of constant creative freshness, as if each activity nourished the others instead of exhausting them. Master Liu Ming described this harmony of rhythms thus: as breathing naturally alternates inspiration and expiration, spiritual life alternates movement and rest. Those who know how to respect their rhythms develop inexhaustible vitality, for they draw directly from the cosmic sources of energy. This connection to the cosmic sources of energy reveals perhaps the most mysterious aspect of fruitful rest. In moments of deep tranquility, we seem to connect to a creativity that transcends us, as if we temporarily became the conscious instruments of an intelligence vaster than our ordinary mind. This experience of transpersonal creativity transforms our understanding of creation itself. Instead of exhausting ourselves, forcing inspiration, or constraining our imagination, we learn the art of creating an interior space sufficiently peaceful and receptive for inspiration to visit us naturally. This creative receptivity does not make us passive, but rather makes us available to dimensions of creativity inaccessible to the willful ego. All the great mystics and creators bear witness to this same discovery. Their deepest works seemed given to them rather than produced by personal effort. This experience of creativity as grace reveals one of the most sacred functions of authentic rest. It opens us to that transpersonal dimension of our being from which beauty, truth, and goodness naturally spring. This openness to transcendence within the immanence of daily life reveals how each day can indeed become a sanctuary. It is not about fleeing our ordinary responsibilities to take refuge in extraordinary spiritual practices, but about learning to perceive the already sacred character of our everyday existence when lived in consciousness and peace. The sacralization of the everyday transforms our relationship with time. Instead of enduring time as an external constraint pushing us toward an always deferred future, we learn to inhabit it as a space of presence where each instant contains in seed eternity. This particular temporal quality characterizes all moments of authentic rest. They let us taste the fullness of the present moment that mystics call the eternal now. This experience of eternity within time releases the spontaneous joy that constitutes one of the surest signs of true rest. This joy depends on no external circumstance, but springs simply from our recovered capacity to be fully present to life as it gives itself at each instant. It transforms our daily existence into a continuous celebration of that mysterious beauty which animates every particle of reality. The Liezi, a Taoist text from the 2nd century before our era, expresses this joy of fruitful rest with striking beauty. When the mind attains perfect tranquility, it becomes like spring water that faithfully reflects the sky. In this transparency is born a joy that needs no reason, for it is the very joy of existing. This joy of existing reveals the ultimate dimension of authentic rest. It reconnects us to that fundamental gratitude for the simple fact of being alive and conscious. This gratitude is not a feeling manufactured by our will, but a spontaneous recognition that emerges when our mind recovers its natural limpidity. This recognition transforms our relationship with all aspects of existence, even the most difficult ones. Challenges cease to be experienced as obstacles to our happiness and are welcomed as occasions for deepening. Difficulties reveal their hidden teachings. Trials transform into invitations to develop capacities we would never have cultivated otherwise. It reveals one of the most precious functions of authentic rest. It develops in us that creative resilience which knows how to draw from every experience, pleasant or difficult, the substance necessary for our flourishing. This creative resilience is rooted in a fundamental trust in the essential goodness of life. When our mind attains that tranquility, which allows it to perceive the deep movements of existence, we discover that even apparently chaotic or destructive events participate in a creative intelligence vaster than our immediate understanding. This discovery does not stem from naive optimism, but from a direct perception that refines itself in moments of contemplative rest. When we attentively observe nature, the way a forest regenerates after a fire, how an ecosystem finds its balance after a disturbance, how life ceaselessly invents new forms of expression, we begin to perceive that indestructible creativity which animates the entire universe. This perception reveals why authentic rest naturally generates creative optimism. Not that voluntaristic optimism which denies difficulties, but rather that trust rooted in the direct experience of that creative force which never ceases to operate, even in apparently the darkest moments. This creative trust transforms our approach to all our projects and aspirations. Instead of anxiously clinging to our plans and expectations, we learn to collaborate flexibly with the movements of life, knowing that our creativity will flourish all the better for knowing how to adapt to changing circumstances. This creative flexibility reveals one of the most precious qualities of fruitful rest. It develops in us that adaptive intelligence which knows how to respond to each new situation with freshness and originality. This intelligence is not acquired through the accumulation of information or techniques, but through the cultivation of that inner availability which can welcome the unexpected as a creative opportunity. The Zhuangzi illustrates this adaptive intelligence through the famous parable of the perfect cook. What I love is the method of the Tao, which surpasses mere technique. For 19 years, I have been cutting up oxen, and my knife is still as sharp as on the first day. A good cook changes their knife each year, an ordinary cook each month. I have used the same one for 19 years, for I never cut against the natural structure of the animal. This parable reveals the secret of efficiency born of rest. It consists in developing that sensitivity which perceives the natural structures of each situation and adapting one's action to these subtle realities rather than imposing ready-made solutions upon them. This sensitivity naturally refines itself in moments of contemplative tranquility, where we learn to listen to the subtle movements of life. This subtle listening transforms our relationship with creativity. Instead of seeking to produce novelty through willful effort, we learn to place ourselves in listening to that creativity which constantly operates in the universe and to become its conscious collaborators. This creative collaboration gives birth to works and solutions that bear that particular mark of authenticity. They seem both deeply personal and universally resonant. This universality within singularity characterizes all creations born of fruitful rest, because they spring from that deep source where our most authentic individuality meets our participation in the universal. They directly touch that common dimension of human experience which transcends superficial differences. This discovery reveals one of the most beautiful dimensions of authentic rest. It makes us rediscover our fundamental belonging to the great family of the living. In moments of deep tranquility, the artificial boundaries between self and not self soften to give way to that direct communion with the living fabric of existence. This communion does not make us lose our individuality, but on the contrary, reveals it in its most authentic dimension. It is when we cease to cling to a frozen image of ourselves that we discover that spontaneous creativity which constitutes our deepest nature. This creativity does not seek to distinguish itself artificially, but expresses itself naturally according to its unique color, while participating in universal harmony. When we create from this peaceful and unified source, our expressions naturally carry that quality of service which nourishes and inspires others without effort or calculation. This spontaneous generosity constitutes one of the most beautiful fruits of authentic rest. It reveals that true tranquility, far from turning us inward, naturally opens our heart to that active compassion which seeks the good of all beings. This compassion does not arise from moral effort, but springs spontaneously from this recognition of our fundamental unity with all life. Thus does fruitful rest reveal its ultimate dimension. It reconnects us to that source of compassionate creativity, which perhaps constitutes the very essence of our humanity. In this reconnection flourishes that joy of living, which transforms each day into a sanctuary, and each gesture into an offering to the mysterious beauty which animates the entire universe. For at the end of the day, this is perhaps the greatest secret of authentic rest. It reveals to us that we are already what we were so desperately seeking to become in all our agitation. This peaceful recognition opens the door to that supreme form of creativity, one which consists simply in letting our deep nature radiate in all its health and original beauty. Like the 15 stones of the Zen garden, which reveal perfection in absolute simplicity, our daily existence can become that living work of art, where each instant lived in peaceful consciousness contributes to the beauty and harmony of the world. In this silent transformation, perhaps resides the most accomplished art, that which makes of life itself a masterpiece.